Well, what can I say? Centray and I have been away for about 10 days and she's gone off to work now, so we've left the Tylers to get on with things. The dogs have obviously been in here again, destroying everything. I bought that last time I came up. The dogs have had that. Effing dogs. I'll say one thing about these guys, they know how to make a mess. They're 100% proficient at that. This is supposed to be a tidy area. I've got to start again here. I know I'm sounding very negative, but I just don't understand sometimes how they can see a nice clean area and then make a bleeding mess of it. Right, let's go and see what's happening in here. I might have to go in the other way. I know all this mess will get tidied up relatively quickly, but it's just a pain. I seem to come here and I tidy things and get rid of the rubbish that they create, and then they create it again soon enough. Swaddy cup. Well, Centray has paid 2 bills already for the job. The first one was the showers. This was when we were away, and on the basis that the showers were complete. And the second one was for the kitchen area. And the bar and the bedrooms. But they haven't finished them. They haven't grouted hardly anywhere, and they haven't finished the edges. So they've conned us a bit there, frankly. We've paid the bills before they've done the job. Still a few edges here to do. This room is complete, but not up to standard, I'm afraid. Straight away I'm seeing bits of plastic sticking out from the spaces that we used, so they haven't removed those before grouting, so somewhere along the line that's got to be done, because I don't want to look at bits of plastic sticking out of the grout, and there's a lot of them. I can see them all over the place. And that's just a cursory inspection walking in for the first time. I do think maybe my standards are a bit too high. floor look nice though. That's all done. Yeah, there's a lot to do. Still a lot to do here. I was given the impression that they basically completed all the internals, and I've turned up here expecting to be able to fit out the bathrooms and basically clean all the floors and, you know, close the house up really. And they're nowhere near finished, judging by what I see, and the fact there's only 2 of them now working. We're going to have another week's work at least. Okay, so one of the checks I've done is just to see if there's any hollow spaces under these floor tiles in the kitchen here. And I started marking them, and he's picked up on that immediately. And he's mixed up a wet mix of adhesive, and he's going around just trying to force adhesive into the gaps and make it flow in underneath the tiles. So that's good, saves me a job. When we started this particular bathroom, once they'd done the rendering, I think I said that the hole in the floor was the wrong distance from where the tiles would end up. So I ordered one of these toilet shifters, just one that's going to move it 1.5 to 2 centimetres. But when they did the tiling and cut the pipe off and everything, and they've done the tiling now, it seems that we're only about 1 centimetre out on the hole, and I think that was because of the angle of the pipe sticking out of the ground. So when they've cut it off at the right level, it's actually further away from the finished render than I measured it. So I've just set the toilet up here on its flange, which fits nicely into the hole, and yeah, I've moved it as far forward away from the wall as I can, and we still have about 0.5 centimetre gap at the back there. So I reckon that once this toilet is set up and I can position it properly, it'll be spot on. Maybe the centre of the toilet hole is only 29.5 centimetres from the wall, I don't know, but it seems to be that this is working out okay. So that's where the toilet's going to go. I'll just take that apart and show you the flange I'm using. So this is the flange, which I haven't used in other toilets before, but I did come across it. I was looking for it actually, I knew it existed but I couldn't find it, and then I found it on Zada and ordered a couple for the house. So I have got to pack more adhesive underneath here, otherwise we're going to end up drilling here and cracking something. So that needs to be finished off. So that flange goes over there, and you've got to position it in exactly the right place, because what happens is the bolts for the toilet go underneath here, sticking up this way, and so you need to line it up so that it is in the right place for the bolts to go through the toilet hole. And then you can fix the flange to the tiles so that's nice and firm, that's not going to move. And the toilet sits perfectly on top of that. I'll show you what I mean by turning the toilet upside down. So the flange goes over there, and you can see it's an absolutely spot on fit, because I think toilets are basically built to a standard sort of size in terms of their openings at the bottom and where their screw holes are. So the idea is that flange goes somewhere in that position, and then the bolts go down through there. This is the flange set. It's an American standard one, so good quality, not cheap. They're about £10 each, about 450 baht. That's the wax ring that came with the toilet. Comes with a set of instructions. Pretty basic stuff really. And these are the bolts. So these bolts, I'm not going to undo them in case I lose them before I fit the toilet, but these bolts stick up from the floor, from underneath the flange, and then you put the toilet over the top of that screw there and tighten it down. So it's held in place by the flange itself, because it's obviously not going to move once that flange is in place. It's not going to slip sideways or anything. And then the bolt comes up here and goes down there. It just holds the toilet tight to the floor. And it's probably as well, what I will do is run a bead of silicone around the edge here, either on the edge or after fitting, because what you don't want is basically, you don't want dirty water getting underneath the toilet, because it will just build up and cause a health hazard and a stink. Obviously nothing's going to escape in terms of leaking out from the actions that you perform, because it will go straight down the pipe and there's no way it's going to leak out even if it splashes. Okay, done the toilet, tidied that up a bit. Now the next job is to have a go at all these rather ugly bits of plastic that are sticking out of the wall. So I've gone around and I've marked the areas that I need to have a go at. Now this is a very sort of slow job. You've got to be very, very careful, because you need to use a sharp knife to cut into the grout and to cut away the plastic that's near the surface, either just to cut it below the surface so you can grout over it neatly, or to be able to actually push it further in, or even extract it. But the problem is, if you're not careful, you can easily take the edge off the tile if you catch the edge of the tile with a sharp knife at the wrong angle. So it's an extremely painfully slow job, and you just got to be very, very careful to cut down the centre line all the time, and to not put any pressure on the side of the knife and make it move onto the side of the tile. These tiles are very brittle. We've got a few examples of chips. There's one there which well, we're going to have to cover with a big mirror. I'm just going to get a big mirror for along here, which probably means I might not bother with some of these, a couple of these bits of plastic, because they'll be covered. But there's another couple of areas I noticed where there are chips out of the tiles on the edge, which have been caused when the plastic grouting aids have been removed. Can't put my finger on them now, but I think there's one down there somewhere. But anyway, it's a very laborious job, very slow, and one that I don't really want anyone else to do because of the potential of the damage. But obviously I hate the fact that I've got to do it in the first place, after making it very clear that they shouldn't grout with plastic sticking out. But I made that clear to Cintere. The message was passed on, but in our absence, of course, they do what they want to do. Well, we've got the electricians in now as well. So it's a bit of a squeeze in here today, a bit of a mess. Anyway, they're going to put in the lights, the ceiling lights, and the shower units. And then that's pretty much them done, apart from connecting us up to the mains. Whoa, whoa. I think this guy's still got a bad eye. Well, he's using plasterboard screws. He's not plugging, but so we should be alright with the fixing. And of course these are LED lights, so they're very light. There's nothing to them. They're all very thin metal base and plastic surround. We've gone for pretty basic, cheap stuff. Again, it's the budget consideration. They look pretty good in the shops, but they're not very expensive. We're not having massive chandeliers hanging anywhere. So you've got the central point of this space. How accurate he'll actually be at getting that central point when it's marked on the ground, I don't know, but
tốt trời áo áo tiến ra có này ôi lúc này đấy đứng ở đâu nhỉ nó men đỏ hoa gì
Right. Right, I've waited till the end of the day before doing any more filming. It's been so noisy here. The electricians have come in and fixed the lights in. Yeah, the lights are okay. He's also fixed the showers in. Now, that's a different story, and I thought it would be. He did have a very good idea to drill a hole in the back of the shower unit to accommodate the wires, so otherwise they have to come in on the side up here, which is quite common. Most of them do come in on the side, and that means the wires would have been showing. So he had a good idea there, but then he went to drill the 4 holes to fix it to the wall, and to be honest with you, he was completely clueless. And he made a right bloody bodge of it. He got 2 holes right, neat and tidy, and then 2 holes, he made a complete and utter mess of them. To be fair, on this lower one here, the tile split because there wasn't enough glue behind it, which is something we were aware of, and I've suspected that this might happen. And the top one here, he made another bit of a bodge, got it in the wrong place, tried to drill another hole. He wasn't even going to use raw plugs or plugs in the walls, plastic plugs, and I had to supply those. Anyway, in the end I took over doing this one here and I fixed it so it's secure, because you just couldn't get it secure, it was hanging off the wall. It's almost level as well. The shame of this project is that we seem to have done our bathroom first all the time, which means this is where the mistakes are made and we have trouble correcting them. Whereas the second bathroom, which isn't going to be used that much, we've understood what the mistakes are and we're doing a better job of this one. So that's quite stupid on our part really to have allowed that to happen. Anyway, this one here I took control of drilling. And it took me as long as it took him to bodge it up. But there are 4 neat holes and they're plugged properly and they're drilled without breaking any tiles. And that's perfectly level and square. So that's ready for plumbing in now. They have got earths, by the way, CPC leads. And the sockets have got CPC as well. But I found out today, I should have found out earlier, but it wouldn't have made any difference. The lighting circuit does not have an earthing wire, and neither do the aircon units. We're not going to have them fitted immediately, but I've just realised that there's only 2 wires sticking out of the wall there. Although it does lead to a breaker, which will trip in the event of a short circuit. So hopefully it's double protected because there's a trip here, and there's also a trip up there. Yeah, it is a safety breaker. Anyway, yeah, I mean the remote, the lighting for the most part is worked remotely, and so is the aircon if we have it. So we just got to remember, well, I mean this is sensible whatever you do, but turn off the whole mains when you're working unless you need to use a drill. Isolate your circuits completely, check them, because you can't guarantee that one of the wires isn't put in the wrong way. So I'm very aware of the issues there with the electrics, but hopefully being new, we won't actually fiddle with it. So this floor's looking pretty good. There's a few tiles with chips out of the edges, unfortunately, but to be honest with you, now it's grouted, and once we start using it, I doubt that we'll actually notice that. He's gone around and filled all the hollow bits. Well, he's shoved very liquid adhesive in there, I don't know. Yeah, that. Yeah, it's a bit better. It looks like we've probably got adhesive around a small area where he's been putting it in. It's not as hollow as it was, so I'm afraid I've come to the conclusion that with regard to the tiling in particular, you've just got to accept, unless you do it yourself, you've got to accept that it's not going to be 100%. You might get lucky and you might get 95% or 99%, but yeah, I've sort of accepted that the job they're doing is good enough, and maybe some of the problems are because the tiles are rather delicate, especially in the bathrooms. These shiny tiles are a nightmare. They keep chipping on the edges, so there's loads of chips out of these, but hopefully again once it's grouted we won't notice. I've spent a lot of time with the electrician today, and then I've spent a lot of time removing these clips, which I'm managing to do quite cleanly. And then tomorrow I'm going to have to cut out all the odd bits of plastic that are sticking out, that are jammed in because of glue being around them, which I can't snap off. So I've got to carefully work my way around cleaning the tiles and making sure that all the grout lines are empty so they can take some grout, so they don't grout over and expose the adhesive that might be at the surface. So I spent a lot of time in the bathrooms today. I don't feel like I've achieved very much, to be honest with you. But I guess a couple of days of really having a go at this, concentrating on the bathrooms so they can grout properly and I don't have to go over the grout again, is the important thing. Maybe I'll spend one more day in this room and the rest of the day in the other room correcting their errors, as it were. So, there we go, we're getting there. They've done the edges that were missing along here and here, and the edges on either side of this room. And now they're doing the upstands, the skirting board if you like, which I prefer in tile because I think it's easier to keep nice than skirting board, which you have to paint, and then if it gets scuffed and the paint gets ripped off, it looks a bit naff, and it regularly needs repainting. So we're going to have upstands all the way around the house where there isn't any other tiling. So they've got a bit to do in this room. They've got the edges to do over there. In fact, that's the only bit they've got to do in this room. But we need to get this room finished and grouted and tidy, effectively, swept, so we can put all our bits in there, our kitchen and our bathroom stuff that's yet to be fitted, and the waste cardboard, etc. that we're keeping. We're getting there slowly. My patience with this build, I'm afraid, is very, very thin now, but we're right at the end. And I've accepted what will be. So I've just got to concentrate on doing my bit to save myself some more awkward work later. Okay. Hopefully I'll soon be sitting down with a nice cold drink in a nice clean environment, looking over the national park and the rice fields. God, if I don't die beforehand from a heart attack.